다 썼어요. 다 썼어요. 여러분들 보여줄게요. 사랑하는 사람아야, 너희는 엄마 몸속에 왔던 그날부터 지금까지도 엄마에게 너무 행복이었고 가슴 이해된다. 사랑하는 딸들아, 부끄러워. 엄마이라서 미안하고 너희는
This footage shows the final moments of 37-year-old Jihye before she took the most extreme measure to put an end to her suffering, ending her life moments later on a live broadcast. But for a woman who had a decent level of fame, success, 2 beautiful children she adored, friends, awards, and remained on good terms with her ex-husband where they maintained mutual respect. What could have possibly driven her to the utmost irreversible choice of ending her life? This was the ignition to a very dark rabbit hole involving jealousy, violence, online presence, betrayal, severe bullying, sexual deviance, law enforcement entities and consulates abroad, and depraved cruelty through it all, taking us from abyss to abyss to abyss to rock bottom. This is the story of Lim Jihye. Today's story takes us to Bucheon. Bucheon is South Korea's second most populated city after Seoul. It bills itself as the city of literature and the cultural hub of the Seoul metropolitan area for having numerous museums, colleges, and an annual film festival. It is also renowned for its exciting and wild nightlife that could go wrong, which is exactly where Jihye met her demise. 37 at the time of her death, Jihye was a former model who also appeared in a few Korean movies in minor acting roles, including the popular movie Sunflower back in 2006. She made her modeling debut in a 2006 Maxim pictorial before becoming a recent model where she excelled and was highly regarded in the industry by her colleagues and seniors. She became big enough to be offered notable awards in the race modeling world. In 2011, she won the Popularity Award as a racing model at the Korean Culture and Arts Awards. Because of her considerable popularity, she was able to make several appearances on well-known TV programs, which were difficult for racing models to get into. As a child, she was captivated by the glamorous and fierce appeal of models after watching the drama Model back in 1997, and she has since dreamed of becoming one when she grows up. And she did. She frequently traveled back and forth between Korea and China for her demand and work activities. By 2014, she had built up a successful career, but after getting married to her husband who worked in the construction industry in the same year, she decided to retire so she could focus on her growing family. She then settled as a full-time housewife and had 2 daughters who were her absolute joy and light. She loved them deeply, so putting her career behind for them was out of the question. After 4 years of marriage, however, the couple got divorced for reasons unknown to the public, but remained cordial and on good terms. She chose to have her daughters live with her, and took pride in taking good care of them while raising them alone as a single mother. The following year, which was 2019, she created a family channel on YouTube and operated normally as one of the ordinary parenting YouTube channels. But the traffic wasn't much, and it did not pay well, if any, so she decided to experiment with live streaming. That's when she joined Africa TV. Africa TV is a Korean video streaming service. It started out as a video hosting website just like YouTube back in the early 2000s, before it rebranded to live streaming years after. Like Twitch, it allows racy content, but also holds online gaming tournaments. In this video, you will come across the word BJ often. That's what independent broadcasters in Korea are known as, coming from the term broadcasting jockeys. Upon joining, Jihye started getting to know and getting along with the new broadcasters she met, which made her a regular guest on their broadcasts and gradually garnered an audience online, where she was known as BJ Imvely. On the fateful day of the incident, she was participating in a broadcast with other BJs as normal, but unbeknownst to her, the viewers, and her loved ones, this would be the last session Jihye would ever appear in. June 11th, this year. Jihye joins a live drinking session in Bucheon with a group of fellow streamers, among them crucial people to the story, Park Seung-gun and Kim Bora. We will get to them later. It is known that the broadcast was conducted in a way that induces competition among BJs to draw support from viewers, in a genre known as ganpalge. Some viewers encourage competition between BJs or give them missions to complete, making such live streams all the more chaotic. Bora quickly took it too far, and a brawl erupted between her and Jihye, which soon turned physical. Bora uses abusive language and excessive mockery towards Jihye out of nowhere, making derogatory remarks about her involving sex, her children, and her failure as a mother. Bora keeps repeating, "Why did you sleep with a guy who has a girlfriend?" Here she was referring to a man whom Jihye dated briefly a while back. The man had another girlfriend and was playing the two of them, making each a secret to the other. So Jihye didn't know until she later discovered the truth. When she called him out on his deception, he got online and said he never viewed Jihye as a girlfriend, but rather a one-night stand. This was both humiliating and heartbreaking to Jihye, who viewed him as a boyfriend, and she had a very hard time letting him go. From then on, her mental health deteriorated. Bora knew this as it was all public information, but kept pushing this narrative that Jihye has no moral ground. Jihye broke down in tears. Bora continued to push by further ridiculing her, telling her to look at the wall and cry about being unlucky, while most of the group laughed along with her. Jihye was increasingly driven into a corner, swarmed with hate, and didn't seem to have anyone to help, except a woman sitting next to her who tried to comfort her throughout the session. The fight escalated to physical force, and in the process, another BJ who was pretending to mediate the fight saw it as an opportunity to sexually harass Jihye. Two men are seen holding Jihye's legs apart. Jihye has a mental breakdown, crying, screaming, throwing her phone towards Bora, and pulling her hair. Jihye then went to the bathroom to try and calm down, but when she returned to the room, Park Seung-gun blocked the door from inside and refused to open it for her. She tried calling some people inside, but no one answered her phone calls. So Jihye had no choice but to return home after getting a message from Seung-gun telling her she won't be receiving any paycheck. The police arrived at the scene. It is unclear who called the police, as an acquaintance of Jihye stated that she never did. This was the first time Jihye and Bora live streamed together, and people think it's the first time they ever met. However, after some digging, I found a video of the pair before the incident. So they did meet before, but for some strange reason, Bora acted the way she did on stream out of the blue.
야, 벽 보고 쳐오르라고. 야, 애기 생각하면.
애기가 뭐라고요?
왜 자꾸 애 타령을 해? 그러면 씨발 섹스 왜 깠어, 이 미친년아. 왜 남의 남자친구, 여자친구 있는 야,
여기 뭐야?
남의 여자친구 있는 남자랑 섹스한 게 자랑이야, 씨발?
야, 내가 어제부터 씨발년아 알고 얘기해.
어쩌면 씨발년아.
씨발년아?
다성이 형.
내 파이 좀 그만해.
내 팔이면 나와. 내 이게 왜 나한테?
야, 패드립? 내가 지금 씨발 패드립 한다고 네가 처음이면 안 돼. 패드립은 네가 제일 많이 했잖아. 야, 나는 저팔이는 해도 남의 애미 보지는 안 팔아, 씨발년아. 너는 남의 애미를 씨발 청년촌에 팔잖아, 씨발년아. 지랄.
야, 이거 고소당했다. 이거
야, 내가 틀린 말 했어? 너는 남의 애미 발로 존났다.
아니 저 근데 진짜 죄송한데 저 진짜 트라우마였어. 저 진짜 아가리 파이터라서. 저기 잠깐만 나 잠깐만 나왔다.
Upon returning home, Jihye conducted a live broadcast where she expressed her anger toward the group and the overwhelming psychological pain they caused her, including them in her suicide note by name. "I can't stand it anymore," she said, and stated that her income had not been settled for a while and that she had been treated unfairly for months. Tearfully explaining her emotions to her followers, she then shares the details of her will. In her will, she requests her ex-husband to carry out the responsibility of caring for their children and apologizes profusely to her family. She said, "Dear daughters, I'm sorry for being a weak mother. You didn't do anything wrong, so I hope you never feel guilty about this. Even if you can't see me, I promise I'll always be by your side." Then disappeared out of frame, with the stream continuing. Viewers could only hear her gagging, and then silence. Tragically, Jihye hanged herself in her bathroom. Viewers watching the broadcast reported it, and 20 minutes later, paramedics were dispatched to the scene and found Jihye unconscious. Viewers could hear emergency officials yelling, "Get the scissors." The broadcast was stopped by the paramedics before she was rushed to the hospital. She suffered 2 cardiac arrests and was reliant on an oxygen respirator to breathe. When the paramedics broke down the door and entered the bathroom, it was already too late. Jihye's passing was announced on her Instagram account by her family members on June 19. Her obituary was posted alongside the news before the account was set to private. Viewers who watched Jihye's broadcast in real time informed the group in the comments of what had just happened, and they were made aware of it, but none of them showed any sign of remorse and instead continued gossiping, dancing, and making fun of Jihye. Now let's dive into Bora and Singun. Not long before the Jihye incident, Bora was a victim of a widely reported violent attack by another streamer who had a decent reputation, so this was out of character for her. She was said to have been pushed beyond her limits to have treated Bora in such a cruel manner after being insulted and degraded by her. Public sentiment at the time was strong in favor of Bora being the victim of an unfair attack. But following Jihye's incident, the public switched gears. As absolutely inexcusable and unjustifiable any act of violence is, people started realizing that Bora has a pattern of provoking other women and stripping them off of their dignity until they lose it and fight back. This was known as the Butchon fork attack, where the streamer stabbed Bora in the face with a fork. The woman insisted, "I was verbally abused non-stop by Bora, and that was retaliation for it." In another instance, Bora is seen assaulting another BJ who didn't hurt Bora in any way. Bora just got annoyed with how loud the BJ was, so she kept attacking her, even after the victim apologized to her. Another time Bora made it to the nationwide news is when she decided to go with another streamer to India to intentionally film shocking content, dancing inappropriately in the streets and train stations. Local men were flocking to them, staring and taking videos. Thousands of comments and hundreds of articles were written, and they all held the same sentiment, pouring out voices of concern and outrage, saying, "These women act like that in India? It's too dangerous. The men stare at you terribly. You shouldn't promote acting this way in a country known to be very unsafe for women. Please stop." In fact, India is a country where sexual crimes against tourists occur every year. Recently, a man accused of sexual harassment in India applied for bail, which the judge granted. The judge said, if the victim wore a provocative dress, it was clear invitation for this. The man even gained sympathy in the local area. Moreover, in the US, UK, and Australia, travelers to India are warned of the risk of sexual harassment and assault, and are advised not to use public transportation or walk on the streets alone. There was also criticism, saying, "They go all the way to other countries and cause a disturbance with zero respect. They act so recklessly and go home, but only Korean women who live or study abroad suffer the damage." Meanwhile, Bora responded to the criticism saying, "I came here with courage because I wanted to show a new image and do a fun broadcast. I asked all the local people about wearing this and they said no problem. The public called them a disgrace to the country and a horrible misrepresentation of Korean women." On the same night after the news about Jihye, Bora got online and angrily said, "What did I do so wrong? She wants the live stream to revolve only around her. Who are you asking to take responsibility? She ruined the broadcast and brought down the mood, so I told her to face the wall instead. No, I'm not sorry. She did this because she couldn't win any money. Let her die, and if she doesn't, I'll kill her myself."
써 씨발려나. 자꾸 협박만 하지 말고 뒤져봐 씨발려나. 지금 씨발 몇 년째 뒤진다 그러고 막.
On the 15th of June, however, she got online with a different attitude, which people are speculating is because the heat and the public fury got to her, and that she most likely got informed that she'll be involved in the police investigation regarding this case. She said, "What does it mean for me to apologize to you? I just want Jihye to live. I hope she lives." And she shed tears. At the time, news that Jihye was on the verge of death continued to spread. When she was announced dead on the 19th, Bora wrote an apology, saying, "I was denied by her family to pay condolences, which I understand, that's natural. I left quietly because I thought making a fuss in mourning would hurt more. I will not make any excuses or avoid responsibility. I am a murderer. I'm really sorry. I will atone in my heart for the rest of my life. I know that nothing can wash away my sins. I pray for the deceased to rest in peace." As the criticism intensified, she took down all of her videos and left only the damage control post in the community. News outlets beyond their niche, even outside the live streaming community, have picked up on the news for how shocking it was.
빨리 이봐. 아 왜? 뭐해? 잠깐만요. 잠깐만요. 누나 제발.
얘 왜 이래? 노 땡큐. 없어. 나 코리아 투어. 노. 고. 코딱지 있어. 너 코딱지 있어. 너 코딱지 있다. 코딱지 파라고. 나 돈은 없고 너 코딱지 있다고. 코딱지 여기 코딱지 파라고. 왜 자꾸 두들겨? 왜? 돈 없어. 안 돼. 너 이런 거 하는 거 나쁜 거야. 아니야, 가라고. 알았으니까 가. 가. 안 돼. 나도 밥 먹으러 가고 있어. 오케이, 가라고.
Sungun graduated from high school and later transferred to 3 different universities before dropping out of each one. He pretended to be mentally ill while in the mandatory army enlistment in order to avoid going through training. He has a daughter and both of his parents serve as church pastors. He was divorced by his wife shortly after the marriage. People who knew him claimed that he had a lifelong history of lying and making threats even before he turned to live streaming. His manager had to quit for unpaid wages and his out-of-control image. When it was time for him to pay his manager, he used that money to buy a PlayStation for himself instead. He got suspended from Africa TV so many times. Once was in 2017 for mocking the disabled, and another for genitalia exposure. Meanwhile, he switched to YouTube and decided to drink his own urine on camera. When his mom watched the video, she was appalled and forbade him from giving her any more pocket money. His YouTube channel now has more than 210,000 subscribers. His content then revolved around traveling and causing friction with the locals. He flies to developing nations, disrespects the poor people, and mocks their living conditions. Overall, he deliberately puts himself in obviously sketchy situations waiting to get scammed in order to rack up more views on his content. He intentionally escalates situations, relying on the fact that he would get help from the Korean consulate to get him out of trouble. After he gets the footage he anticipates to go viral, a strategy he adopted in different countries. He provokes the locals past their limits to get a reaction out of them, claims to have been assaulted, and involves the local police of that country. You might wonder, how come he feels so confident rather than scared of altercations abroad? And that's because he relies on the Korean consulate abroad to bail him out of bad situations that he himself ignited. It's become a method of his to follow in every country he causes trouble in, clearly abusing and wasting the resource and safety net system of the consulate that protects its Korean citizens in actual serious situations that need it. In 2018, he got arrested in Japan for trespassing in a restricted area. And in 2022, he went to a plaza in Tokyo where a lot of kids gathered and sexually harassed women passing by, calling them prostitutes. This action caused a lot of controversy, so he had to release an apology to his viewers. To add to that, there was a certain period where he bought dogs, cats, and rabbits and abused them as material for some bizarre, shock value, and demented broadcasting. In one instance, he hits the dog on the cheek, feeds it cup noodles, Coke soda, and even deadly chocolate. In another instance, he got a cat and raised it for a while. The cat gave birth to kittens, but he neglected them all until they died, and left the bodies unattended for a long time. After the news of Jihye's condition circulated, he posted an apology, which the majority believed was just an attempt at saving his audience count. Especially that, as the controversy continued to grow, he left Korea and flew out to Cambodia. But instead of laying low, he got caught for yet another disgraceful behavior. He got caught in a controversy over defamation of the deceased, but this time it was another victim of an unrelated case. It was another streamer called Ayong. She was his colleague from Africa TV who died tragically and suspiciously at a Cambodian hospital and whose case is still a serious active investigation. Yet he visited the hospital site where Ayong was last seen, filming, swearing, mocking her, and joking about summoning spirits in a haunted place. The outrage and disgust of the public poured in, and it led to digging deeper into his despicable history. Jihye's younger brother filed a complaint against all the BJs involved. On the 23rd of June, a YouTuber conducted an interview with Jihye's brother about the current situation after the funeral. One of the BJs involved went to the funeral home where Jihye was laid to rest to pay condolences, but he was denied entry. Jihye's brother found him and told him to go, but he didn't leave, so the brother called the police and kicked him out. In the interview he said, "It's true, I rejected their condolences and entry to the funeral home. I didn't know who was an ally and who was an enemy." He said, "I want to prevent this from happening because my sister's case is widely known. The perpetrators still insult my sister and her daughters and do outrageous things, such as filming themselves sarcastically buying mourning clothes instead of an apology. So we have filed a complaint and the police are conducting an early investigation. According to reports, the police will also review criminal charges, including allegations of sexual harassment that occurred during the stream. My sister tried to sue one of the BJs during her lifetime. I will fight so that this will never happen again. I hope they will be severely punished, and I hope many people will support and watch over me." In Korea, there is a law on defamation of the dead. You can sue with the consent of the family members, and since they mocked the children, this can also go to court with the consent of the guardian. He also conveyed that his brother-in-law will raise the children as he is on good terms with the family, and had been a great father, seeing the kids regularly. Finally, the younger brother said, "None of the perpetrators apologized. I wanted her to rest quietly with no commotion, but my older sister is never the kind of person to just bow down if she was still alive. So I intend to stand by her side until the very end and sue all those who defamed and ridiculed her." After Bora released her apology, Jihye's brother said, "Even if she apologizes, her wrongdoing does not disappear." Koo Ji-sung, a fellow racing model of Jihye, also urged a thorough investigation into what happened to her friend. "I am also a mother who has a daughter more precious than the world, so my heart hurts so deeply." Upon researching this case, there wasn't any resource in English except vaguely announcing her death. Not knowing any Korean, it was very difficult to understand what happened, and I wanted to make a clear video to the best of my ability. I thought it's important to bring awareness to her story and who she was. Jihye was an incredible mother who excelled in her responsibilities at home and at work, a single mother determined to rediscover her passion after dedicating herself to her children in their primary years, a passion that could allow her to maintain her self-worth while earning money along the way for her children for a better life. She was loving and pleasant to be around. Unfortunately, she took her anger and pain on herself because she can't harm others. A slightly better luck in finding a good friend group would have made a drastic difference to her story. Unfortunately, however, she hung around the wrong crowd. While she might have ended her life on camera, it wasn't exactly that. She was still considerate till the end by placing the camera somewhere out of frame.